So what is it that you're doing here today?
Well, I was asked to come to be able to try to be support for a young woman and her family that have been dealing with the injustice in the system. And they had seen my website. When I was in prison, some friends had gotten together and put together a website, www.justiceforlucinda.org. And they put all together for me while I was in prison. It was very sweet of them to do that. And they raised money.
That's fantastic.
5 different church congregations. It was a very ecumenical effort. And also a political party and some other people that had known me, because I tried to be a good person all my life. And
were you just completely mystified when the truth didn't have more meaning when you were in court?
It was very Kafkaesque. A Quaker friend of mine in her 80s sat down beside me. She said, "This is just too surreal. What is going on here? This is so surreal. This can't be happening." I know. I said, I know, because we have always wanted to believe in our system. I think everybody out there wants to believe in the system and believe that everything is right and we have the most wonderful system in the world, and there's more justice in America than anywhere else. And the truth of it is that this is not true, and it's sadly not true.
Did you get the sense that it was just most important to get a conviction?
Oh, that's exactly what happened here.
It wasn't so important who, but just that.
Instead of seeking truth, which as a Quaker I believe that's important, I've tried to seek truth all my life, and there was no effort to seek truth. And here you're supposed to seek the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God. And they didn't do that. And they didn't even attempt to investigate. They didn't even attempt to look as if they were investigating. The police did not do their job. They didn't follow the law, statute, to investigate, which said they must, and they didn't. And they didn't follow the protocols. Their state protocols are clearly in place that you're supposed to call CARES Northwest. They didn't call CARES Northwest. People from DHS need to have me come train them. I should go around to every DHS person in the whole state. The state should hire me so that I train them on the protocols.
This
is the statute. This is the statute. This is the law. These are the protocols. This is what you're supposed to do. Let's go in these 4 easy steps, a little checklist of what you're supposed to do when somebody calls. This is supposedly a case. You need to refer to a professional who is a trained, updated, qualified, certified professional. You're supposed to call CARES Northwest, and they're supposed to provide that. And then you're supposed to go to Liberty House from this area and have that all-important first interview. If you don't have that all-important first interview, which is fully recorded, if you don't fully record it, if you don't have that interview, then a person who's innocent can be falsely accused of a crime that they would never commit. And there's no way then, because you contaminated the case after that.
Right.
If you lead a kid in questioning, if you lead them in the process and you haven't documented that, you haven't recorded it, then an innocent person can be very wrongfully treated in the whole process. But the protocols were designed and are so important to follow because they would, if you did them properly, if you actually followed the law, they would enable a person to have sequestration of all of the different parties, including the person who's accusing you, and their family, and then say, okay, so what happened here? Tell me the sequence of events. And if things start differing in the stories of people, then you notice the differences.
Right.
And you make note of the fact that, oh, these people are saying one thing and these people are saying something else. And so maybe there's a problem with credibility here.
Right. And my understanding is that the credibility call went on to the kids that tried to tell the truth about what happened, that the prosecutors didn't have any interest in that.
Well, it's very interesting that a whole classroom of students can have evidence and that a judge or a DA would refuse to acknowledge the fact that all of these affidavits would be valid. The appeals court didn't buy what the judge here did, and the appeals court judges were appalled. They said it was egregious. How on earth? Of course it would have made a difference, they said. Of course it would have made a difference. The state assistant attorney general had to just be quiet. I mean, it was rather embarrassing. I would think that they would know better. But anyway, so of course it makes a difference when you have a stack of over, it was over altogether closer to 20 affidavits. When you have evidence that proves very clearly that you can't be in two places at the same time, and everything that I'd said, all those little details had been corroborated by the kids. They remembered details of things. And I know that I'm a good teacher because they did remember details of things. And it was just little things, but kids remember color, for example.
Right.
They remember colors, they remember patterns, they remember mnemonic aids, music, the arts, things that are related to that. And I was one of the first subs they'd ever had. They'd had Miss Jolly Rancher the day before, and then they'd had me. And so they remembered some of the things because I did things differently than their regular teacher did.
Right.
And so it stuck out in their minds.
Well, you seem like you're very, very serious about the profession. So here you are, the least likely candidate for doing something like this. You get wrongly convicted and
I'm
tossed
a
in
Quaker,
prison.
yeah.
Right, a Quaker, and you're tossed in prison where people believe that you had some inappropriate thing with a child, which is the worst possible
Right,
thing.
and they wanted to kill me.
I'm sure they did. So talk to me about the person that kind of watched over you to make sure that this...
I was blessed. I prayed. I prayed every day, constantly, actually, from moment to moment. I'd get up in the morning and I'd wash my feet and do kind of a little Baha'i thing where they, I prayed that these feet, as I trod today, that I would be able to see beauty,
Right.
that I would be able to see compassion, that I'd be able to see kindness,
Right.
that I'd be able to see some goodness in the universe and in the world.
And you indeed did.
And then I started praying that I would be able to be that beauty for someone else, and be that compassion, and be that kindness, and be that goodness in the universe, so that others would know hope.
Right. Can you talk about the person, though, that watched over
Well,
you?
that's where this came from, is that I'd been praying for help. I needed a guardian angel. And I had people that popped in and out of my life while I was there who took care of me, because they said, you stick out like a sore thumb. You're obviously a Girl Scout. You're obviously a goody two-shoes. You don't know how to steal anything. They would try to hand me food. They were trying to take, a grapefruit or something, and they'd say, you're not supposed to hold on to it. You're not supposed to show it.
You needed to learn the ropes.
I wasn't good at stealing. I wasn't good
Right.
at any of those things. And they said, well, you obviously don't know what
Right.
you're doing here. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. And they also told me I shouldn't be singing Mary Poppins songs. And
Perhaps true.
that they said there are going to be people who would
Right.
hurt you because you're singing that. So they would just kind of take me under their wing and take care of me.
One individual who had been a
Yeah.
Marine,
Yeah.
who had been a male,
Yeah.
who had had surgery to become a female,
Yeah.
watched over you. You had the Marines at your back.
I did. I really did. Well, I guess I was one of the smallest petite people in prison, and I must have really looked like I needed a lot of help, and I did.
Right.
But I had gone to choir, and in the chapel, and one of the basses that was singing in the choir, I noticed the bass voice, and afterwards I had made an effort after the concert to say, you did a really nice job of singing. I was really glad to hear it. It was good to have some harmony in there. And she was very thankful and appreciative of the fact that I'd said that. And people that have college educations kind of tended to be magnetized and congregate together just to study things or speak intelligently together and have conversations that were intellectual conversations. And this person had a college education and beyond, and so had I. And so we could use vocabulary with each other, that was a little more than just grunts and stuff. I mean, I don't like to swear. As a Quaker, I don't like to swear. And I was hit by this bombardment, this barrage of swear words and just vile stuff. And some of the people there were, street people and women who'd had very hard lives, and and they did not know of other choices, or they had not been exposed to as many opportunities to have a different approach. So it was good. I spent a lot of time with this other person. Whenever she was free to go walking on the yard, I'd say, "Do you mind if I walk with you?" And I felt safer. And after a while, she got to the point where she realized, that I was needing her assistance, because she would growl at people if they started to hassle me. And she was very protective for a good 8.5 months, and that was nice.
I'm so glad that you are here now, and that this whole case has been overturned, and it was all proven to be something that wasn't true. And I'm sure your life is more challenging than ever. You've had this spot education in the penal system that you never anticipated in your life. But you seem healthy, and you're interesting, and I hope that people, can they go to your website? Can they get in touch with you there if they have ideas or anything?
Actually, I don't think they can. People took away the PayPal. There used to be a PayPal thing, and some other ways to get a hold of me more directly, and I'm not in prison anymore, and so people could actually get a hold of me. I'm trying to think. I suppose I could go ahead and just give you my
let's
email.
do this. Anyone interested in touching bases with Lucinda can write to newsroom@salem-news.com, and I will forward the email to you, and then you can do with what.
That'd be fine.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's really good to meet you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.